mean, back when they took out the tumor and they talked about mouse models, I'm like, whatever, fine, okay. But when it came back and we needed the data, I'm like, yeah, it's from the mice. If I hadn't had these mice who sacrificed their little mouse lives for me, I wouldn't know which drugs would work on me. You know, I would be in the same position as a million other people. And so I feel lucky that I, was able to be part of that. I knew after the first 2 treatments that they were going to take a piece of the tumor and grow it in mice. So it was pretty soon after I started. What I didn't know is what the data showed. So I thought it was great to, take a piece of the tumor, grow it in the mice, try the drugs in the mice to see what worked. I always said to people, gosh, look how lucky I am, because most of the time they just flip to the journal and say, okay, let's use that chemo. That worked on patient so-and-so. I also know that I have a very unique tumor. And so it has to be individualized to me and my tumor to know what's going to work best. So when it came back in December, I was surprised / depressed. And, but I knew that we were going to go back to the mouse data to figure out, okay, what worked the best on the mice? Let's go with that. We had already sent my tumor off to Foundation Medicine to get the genetic map, and there weren't answers there. So they weren't offering, oh, you can do these 3 clinical trials, and these are the known chemotherapies that will absolutely fix your tumor. It just said 0. And that didn't help. That was a $7,000, it didn't help. It was great information to know what genes make up my tumor, but it didn't provide me with the answers. And when you have cancer, you're like, I just want the fix. I am supportive of anything that gets the answers. So if that was the way to get the answer, I'm sorry, mouse, but it's me or you, and I pick me. I didn't know at that time that chemo had failed in the mice. But it was the standard regimen, so I had to have it. 15 cycles. So, it was rough. I'll just put it that way. It was rough. I lost all my hair. I was sick, not the way you want to lose weight. In October, I said, great, I'm done. I've had a clear scan. Let's take my port out. And we had a party. We called it the done, done, done party because I was done. And in December, when I went to the emergency room and they said, did you know you broke a rib and you have lesions on your spine? I went, what? Yeah. So at that point, then we talked about the mouse data and what it could tell us. So I didn't really ask before then what the mouse data was. As I understand the way they're giving the mouse, they're injecting the tumor in the mouse in the same place it was found. So for me, the rib cage. And then they wait for it to grow in the mice, and then they try the different drugs on the mice. And my tumor is very aggressive, so it grew quickly in the mice. And I'm lucky that it grew in the mice because sometimes that didn't happen, is my understanding. But I didn't have radiation the first time around. So it made it a more viable candidate for the mouse. And then, so we tried the different drugs, and some of them had really good effectiveness and some didn't. So the first trial drug that I got this year was very effective on the mice. And it worked for a time with me. And now I am on the second set of drugs. As my understanding is they had all that data. I just wasn't asking the questions. I just wanted to know, what's the fix? What do we need? What do we need to stop this pain? What do we need to stop it from growing? So, at this point now, it's what do we need to hold it back so it doesn't take over my body tomorrow? So, and it won't be tomorrow, but it'll happen because that's just the nature of it. It's a very, very aggressive tumor. But my husband always says, he feels like we're always on borrowed time because he thought 2 years ago that I wasn't, when they tell you your wife has cancer, he was like, that's it, she's gone. And yet, here I am. Like, let's renew our vows. Let's make over the house. I'm driving him a little crazy. I love that there's more avenues. And when I heard about the the mouse avenue, I'm like, yay, here's another way for us to learn about me, especially after already heard from the genetic map of my tumor and that there was big fat zeros in terms of information. Where do you go? How do you get the information? And so, you know, definitely at times through all this, I felt like the giant mouse because they put it in me and let's see how it works. But to have the data from the mice is amazing. That, I mean, who gets that? You know, and I always wonder if I didn't have such a rare and fancy tumor, would I get that? And I don't know, but I feel really lucky that I did. And no matter what happens, I hope that people learn from me. So I hope that, you know, other people can say, oh, I want to do that with the mouse, or can you do that with my tumor, or can I get what she got, or, you know, to figure out what is the right formula for each person.